first afternoon presentation, Isaiah Picard. Isaiah lives in Knoxville and is homeschooled. The title of his project is Para-Swimming Clinic.
Good afternoon. As you can see, I use a wheelchair for mobility. While on a hunting trip in Canada, I was brutally attacked by a wolverine. No, not really. Actually, I was just born with spina bifida, and I had the fortune, or misfortune, depending on how you look at it, to be born the youngest of 5 children. All of my siblings were swimmers, and I started swimming lessons when I was 3. When I was 7, I decided that I wanted to join the Knoxville Stingrays swim team, even though I couldn't swim across the pool. So I joined. Here's a picture of me not drowning. Many swallowed gallons of water later, however, I did eventually learn how to swim across the pool, and I started competing at the swim meets. My opponents, however, had a slight tactical advantage, namely working legs. So, I got last place in every race, every time. In 2014, the Adaptive Sports USA held their junior nationals in Middleton, at Iowa State University, My parents signed me up, and so, for the first time, I competed against other para-swimmers. Here's me with all of my first place medals from that same year. Did I forget to mention that I was the only para-swimmer in my division and age category? Details. Age and disability weren't the only category in which I was the only one. Despite the junior nationals being held in Iowa that year, I was surprisingly the only swimmer competing from Iowa. 2 years later, the same junior nationals were held in Middleton, Wisconsin, and my parents took me again. Here's me and my adorable service dog Oberlin, and more first place medals. Again, only swimmer in age and disability category, but whatever. A win's a win, right? Also, once again, I was the only swimmer competing from Iowa. In 2017, Junior Nationals was once again held in Wisconsin. My dad took me that year, which is why there are no pictures of me. As you can see from the medals, 2 second place and 5 first place medals, I had some competition that year. However, I was still the only swimmer competing from Iowa. I continued to swim on my local swim club and proceeded to go on a 7-year-long losing streak, which even for my standards is fairly impressive. I don't know what I was doing during those years, but something wasn't working. It was probably my legs. In 2020, despite getting last place in every single race that I competed in, my coach convinced the Greater Iowa Swim League to let me participate at the state meet. I was the first para-athlete to participate at that state meet, so I was still competing against athletes who hadn't had their leg privileges revoked. So, I got last place, again. My freshman year of high school, I joined my older brothers on the Indianola High School swim team. My coach of the high school swim team petitioned the Iowa High School Athletic Association to start a para division, and they did. So, February of 2022, I was the first para-athlete in Iowa history to compete at the Iowa High School Athletic Association state meet. And I was not only the first para-swimmer to compete at the state meet, I was also the only para-swimmer to compete at the state meet. This time, being the only para-swimmer, I was once again back in first place, and man did it feel good. Here's my nose sticking out over the top of this giant trophy, which, seriously, why did they make it so big? In 2023, the para division doubled in size. There were now 2 of us. Once again, I got to take home the giant trophy. My junior year, the para division doubled again. There were 4 of us. There are only 3 in this picture because all 4 of us never competed in the same events, so we were never featured on the podiums. That year, I didn't get to take home the ginormous trophy, but it was really reward enough to see more para-athletes participating. Although my swimming career has been highly decorated, it's also been very lonely, sometimes being the only para-athlete from Iowa in my division or on my team. That's why I decided to start Paraswim Iowa. After I got the idea for this project, I contacted Ryan Warwick, the activities director at the Waukee YMCA. Ryan was very excited to help and said that we could hold my event at the Waukee YMCA. I knew that I would need funding, so I contacted Thrivent Financial and signed up for one of their action team programs. In total, I received $250 as seed money and t-shirts for my volunteers. Ryan and I decided to have the workshop on the 23rd and the 24th of August. I contacted my high school swim coach, Bobby Shepard, the assistant coach, Jonathan Watson, and several fellow high school swimmers and asked them to help. I also reached out to several parents and asked for help with food. The money from Thrivent went to creating an official Paraswim Iowa website. And along with that, I created an official email to communicate professionally. I opened a checking account and connected it to my website so I could be receiving donations. I created a flyer and advertised my workshop on social media and started to get registrations pretty quickly. My next step was to get business sponsorships. In total, I raised $2,330 in cash and donations of food and drink. I designed t-shirts and ordered them, and also ordered caps and goggles, and put together gift bags for my participants. When Friday, August the 23rd, finally arrived, I was very excited and nervous. It was go time. Practice lasted for an hour, and we had a fantastic dinner courtesy of Los Tres Amigos in Waukee. Saturday's event started with registrations at 8:30 a.m. The workshop lasted from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. We had lots of practice. I told my story, and the 3 other coaches gave encouraging talks. And we had more practice. We had lunch, snacks, and breaks interspersed throughout the workshop. and even more practice. The athletes made tremendous progress. By the afternoon, the swimmers were diving, most of them for the first time, and some of them even off the blocks. The student volunteers made great personal connections with the para-athletes. And the swimmers appreciated all of the one-on-one instruction. The athletes progressed farther than they ever thought they could. The smiles on their faces were especially rewarding. The personal growth for the athletes, both in their swimming and in their personal attitudes and mindsets, was incredible.
So evaluate yourself or your videos and make yourself better. Because you and some of us are like-minded, where we say, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Not out loud.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. But that's the attitude to have for the rest of your life.
The event would not have been possible without my amazing crew of volunteers. The workshop was an opportunity for me and the volunteers to develop character, empathy, and leadership skills by helping others. Like Herbert Hoover, we challenged ourselves to do uncommon things. In this way, the workshop exemplified President Herbert Hoover's ideals and the way he lived his life. After the event, I sent thank you cards to donors and volunteers and made a video so they could see how successful the workshop was. Looking to the future, I'm planning for a team of these same athletes to go to the Move United Hartford Nationals in Grand Rapids, Michigan in July of 2025. This time, I intend not to be the only paraswimmer from Iowa. Thank you, Hoover Presidential Foundation, for providing this opportunity and award for students like myself to do something truly uncommon. Questions?
Takes a little time for it to
What type of handicap qualifies to be a paraswimmer?
Oh, that's a great question. A paraswimmer is a rather broad category. For the sake of at least the Iowa High School Athletic Association, it's defined in a very physical manner. And there are levels. So for me, I can't use my legs. For some swimmers, they can use them, but say to walk, they would need something to help them. Or maybe they can stand, but they just can't walk. So it's a very broad category with many categorizations, I guess you would say.
Is one of your goals, can some of these kids go on to the Special Olympics?
That could certainly be a goal that we could have later on. At the moment, we don't have that goal, but we could certainly fit that in.
I think that's great that you're giving these guys an opportunity to, swimming is a great exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Keeps you in shape. Good job.
So, fantastic work, really, thank you. So what keeps you going? Like, what's your motivation? Like, if you're the only person there, like, you just love swimming, or is there something else that kind of...
Yeah, that's a great question. So, For me at least, swimming has always been a big thing for me. I talked about how I started when I was 3, swimming lessons. And for me, really, the thing that's kept me going is the fact that there's so much freedom in the water. As someone who's been disabled from birth, I've always felt a tremendous amount of freedom in the water, and so that has really motivated me to keep going.
Thank you, that's great.
You're clearly a very inspirational and inspired leader, but
Thank you.
do you have sort of succession plans for when you presumably graduate from high school? Will you continue with this program? Do you have anyone who's a co-chair with you of this initiative as you might get busier in other parts of your life?
That's a great question. So I could turn it over to Ryan and let him handle it because he has worked with these same kids for a little bit now. They have an adaptive team at Waukee, which he's been working with. So I could turn it over to him if I decide that I'm too busy with, say, college, or if I get a job that takes too much time. So that would probably be my primary option, let's say.
You could be an honorary co-chair.
Yes,
Sure.
yeah, I could appear and, get a paycheck for it and just show up occasionally, give talks.
Great, thank you.
What surprised you the most throughout this experience? Did you have to adapt to the program in any way and change it?
So we did, I'll answer your first question first. What really surprised me the most was the amazing progress that these kids make, truly. Because for me it was like, what the heck, I spent, so many years swimming, 7 years, and it took me, I didn't go off the blocks till I was like 10 years old. What the heck, how are these kids doing this? So that was surprising. And we did have to alter it a little. Originally, I had planned to go a decent amount later on the Saturday practice, but we decided these kids are tired, we should just give them their meal and let them be on their way. So that was the major change.
Anybody else? Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.